Let me start, though, with gratitude. Because COVID has taken so many lives. It's broken down our systems, economies, businesses, ways of working. But in the midst of this global tragedy, as everything fell apart, our industry, manufacturing, came together. As the economy sank, we rose to the occasion. As the country went into lockdown, we went to work. Ohio made millions of pieces of protective equipment for frontline heroes fighting the pandemic. You've heard a little bit about one of those stories earlier from Michael. And I'm profoundly grateful that we were able to pivot from producing toys, tires, car parts, to making those masks, face shields, gowns, and more. I'm incredibly proud that our industry used its might, agility, and innovation to save countless lives. And it all started when the PPE shortage hit. We saw disturbing photos of nurses wearing garbage bags, heard stories of doctors wearing the same dirty mask for a week, and we were all collectively horrified. We knew we had to do something, so we did. In a few short months, thousands of Ohio manufacturers made 1 million COVID test swabs, 1 million protective gowns, 1 million cotton face masks, 1 million reusable face shields, and the list goes on and on. It's absolutely incredible that despite production shutdowns, lockdowns, supply chain disruptions, we were able to completely change our machinery, retrain our people to do all of this in weeks. And how did we pull this off? And why is it relevant to the Cleveland Innovation Project that I'm going to be describing? 2 words: powerful partnerships. As individual companies and community groups started pivoting to PPE, the state immediately saw the opportunity. And on April 1st, Governor DeWine put out a statewide call for manufacturers to help. More than 2,000 stepped up almost immediately. And that's how the Ohio Manufacturing Alliance to fight COVID-19 was born. And it was powered by the network of partnerships that work every day to make our industry stronger and better. Organizations like Team NEO, and we too value that partnership very much. The Ohio Manufacturers Association, sector partnerships, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, that's the backbone of my organization, Magnet, Jobs Ohio, Ohio Hospital Association, nursing homes, and more. With everyone that was already in a tent, we're already linked together. Those relationships already in place, we could instantly mobilize. We already had that foundation, so when the need at the state arose, we were there. Let me share a few stories that demonstrate the true scale of what our industry has accomplished together. The first thing we made were those face shields that Mike talked about. And this wasn't just making, it was truly innovative. The Manufacturing Alliance created an entirely new product. 3 hospitals were testing the prototype and clinically approved it. Jobs Ohio gave emergency funding to place a multi-million-dollar plastics order. And 30 companies, including Eaton, retooled, retrained, came together to manufacture those face shields. Idea to prototype, entirely new supply chain in less than 3 weeks. Next example is protective gowns. The biggest problem here was that all the typical raw materials were gone. So we needed a new design and a new type of material. Finally, we found a special type of plastic, one that would meet all of the top medical certification standards. And we got to work designing one that could be produced, at least in part, by automation, so we could churn these gowns out as quickly as possible. And a few weeks later, 5 different manufacturers were retooled and producing those gowns. No single manufacturer could have done this alone, but our powerful partnership did it together. These gowns have never been made in Ohio before, and now we actually have manufacturers who plan to keep producing them here after the pandemic. Manufacturers like Sensical. In March, they shifted from making auto parts to hospital gowns, and within 20 days, they were producing 80,000 gowns a day with more than 100 new employees. In this case, pivoting to PPE not only saved lives, it also saved jobs and created an entirely new business. And finally, story number 3, face masks. Cotton face masks. Early in the crisis, we were working with dozens of sewing companies hand sewing masks. But frankly, hand sewing is just too expensive. We couldn't make them fast enough. In fact, at one point, I think there were 1,000 Amish seamstresses working to make 1 million cotton face masks. But the only way after that first 1 million with as many as we need even today to achieve the competitive scale and price was through technology. So we found high-tech automated sewing equipment that could be customized to make masks. Shouldn't say we found it, we designed it. We found the connections through our networks to actually design those automated pieces of equipment. Two companies, Stitches USA and Buckeye Mask Company, one a startup, one a company that was already sewing, stepped up to see this potential. But they couldn't afford to buy these machines on their own, especially when they had no idea what the demand was. So thankfully, Jobs Ohio and the state saw the opportunity to bring home production and jobs from overseas. And Development Services Agency provided grants while Jobs Ohio stepped up with an innovative loan loss guarantee. Now these companies can make 100,000 masks a day at competitive prices versus the 150,000 we were able to make a week by hand. This story is a playbook for how to make reshoring a reality. And it again proves the power of partnerships. When you're trying to make change, when you're trying to build a new future, everything comes down to partnerships. Yes, the pandemic did accelerate the way we work together, but we were able to do this so quickly and well because we already have an impressive network of organizations working together to advance workforce, technology, and innovation in manufacturing. It's those sorts of partnerships that are the backbone of the Cleveland Innovation Project, and frankly, what we're all doing here today, learning, networking, connecting. So rather than going point by point in that last page, and Erica, if you could shine that up for us right now, of the Cleveland Innovation Project, I will put this on the screen so you could see it. I'd like to share some stories that illustrate what each of these four pillars of the strategy really are. You can see them on the screen: transformation, talent, innovation, and leadership. Transformation is getting Industry 4.0 technologies and smart technologies into manufacturers. We need the talent to drive that. We need the innovation in terms of products and services to grow our manufacturers and keep their competitive advantage. And we need leadership at the company level and at the community level to do the partnership so that this vision on this page of being a national leader in the innovation, application, and scaling of industrial digital technologies can be a reality. You can take this slide off now. So my first example is a huge victory for Ohio. As many of you might know, Ohio was recently designated as a defense manufacturing community, one of only 6 in the nation. And this happened because of the strength of our networks. The same groups that made up that alliance to fight COVID-19 joined with others from across the state, actually, including the Dayton Development Coalition, America Makes in Youngstown, the Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing Institute, and many companies in the defense supply chain. And collectively, we showed that we have the power to promote a healthy defense supply chain, deliver upskilling required to achieve it. It's yet another example of bringing people together to do what they do best. So my organization, we're quite known for how we end up engaging, especially with technology, companies, and helping them adopt it. And sector partnerships, many of your communities have them, are manufacturer-led groups trying to fix the problems and the systemic issues in the workforce system. Bringing our technical expertise, sector partnerships, engagement on workforce together is the power so that we can have a company adopt a technology and have a group that knows how to reskill so we have the technical skills in the employees to make it work. And we have a vision to make Ohio America's premier defense manufacturing community. And this brings us one step closer to all the jobs, innovation, and production that promises. Now, here's the thing. When we go out to a supply chain company in the defense manufacturing field, we're not just going to help them adopt a technology and help them retrain. We're going to ask them to become a lighthouse. They will open their doors to let others see how they've benefited so that the expertise in this room, the expertise that we have, gets into one company who will inspire many others as a lighthouse, guide their way, their peers, so that they can catalyze the adoption that we know as a region we're not, especially in our small and medium manufacturers, getting fast enough. This is an example of the first plank of that strategy for manufacturing you saw, transforming companies into Industry 4.0. A second illustrative example of the second plank around talent. Jobs Ohio just launched a major initiative pilot called Ohio to Work. Helps get more low-income people into high-paying manufacturing, IT, and health jobs, especially those individuals now out of work because of COVID. The pilot that is going on in Cleveland right now will add marketing and outreach, tech-enabled tools, coaching, support training, new connections to companies, and reskilling training funding. And all of that is built on what is already in place. In short, what it does, this program, it's not a brand new initiative that sits outside of everything. It boosts the entire workforce system to get more people into high demand occupations, including manufacturing. And we'll be making sure that those individuals go through trainings that help them understand the importance of Industry 4.0 to their new employers. And the initiative is so much more powerful because it leverages, I already mentioned, sector partnerships and an industry-led approach. The goal is to demonstrate real impact, show that we can overcome the barriers that keep people out of work, from lack of awareness to lack of transportation, and that we can solve these problems by using the organizations and systems already in place, simply making them better, filling gaps. This may seem like this is clear-cut, it's a great use of state dollars, and it, grab onto some momentum, no-brainer investment. However, to get to a place where this pilot was ready to launch took tremendous groundwork. It took Team Neo advocating for our region, producing the data that shows where our gaps are. The Ohio Manufacturers Association had to create a statewide network of sector partnerships. Our local community in Cuyahoga County had to come together to fund those sector partnerships. And then many local organizations had to rally behind the need to reskill people for good careers in manufacturing, IT, and healthcare. It even took the Cleveland Innovation Project to appropriately link careers of the future with building our future workforce pipelines today. I think there's probably like 60 organizations that had a meaningful role that led up to this new initiative. That's what it takes to drive the systemic change that we're talking about in the Cleveland Innovation Project. Might be slow, incremental, and very complex. And the problems in workforce in particular are so massive, no single organization can solve them. But to have the innovation in smart manufacturing, to have the Industry 4.0 be adopted, we know we need people. I'm the board chair of the Cleveland Cuyahoga Ohio Means Jobs, the Workforce Development Board. We see 15,000 people a year who need jobs. Less than 200 of them took advantage last year of free training in healthcare, IT, and manufacturing. Not unsurprisingly, the fewest in manufacturing. But since the 3 weeks after this program was launched by the governor, 250 new job seekers had signed up for training. 56 new employers have reached out to get involved. And since then, it's only been multiples. And that's how systems and lives get changed for the better. And it's a great example of the work that we need to do collectively in this second plank of that manufacturing strategy. And for the third plank, an example, innovation. Products and services are the lifeblood of manufacturing. Nobody will disagree with this. And we know that without continuous innovation inside and outside of our companies, all manufacturing will be obsolete. They got to do stuff internal to make themselves better. They have to think of what products they're selling to make themselves better. We also know that we have an amazing set of assets in Northeast Ohio upon which we can create, galvanize, accelerate, whatever you want to think of, an innovation ecosystem. Here's a quick example. Rafter Equipment makes tube, mill, and roll forming equipment in Strongsville. Their equipment that they're producing could be a source of a lot of data for them and for their customers. And with the right sensors and right algorithms and right data analysis, you could predict, for example, when a customer needs to replace a part, service the equipment. That would all save valuable downtime. We've talked about this a lot. It's predictive maintenance. Can improve the service of their parts, provide a new line of income for the business. And after having searched around to try and find somebody that had a solution that could adopt quickly for their product, they couldn't find anyone that had a flexible system for exactly what they wanted to do. They knew that they needed complex data analysis. They knew that they had to find the right system to integrate. And that's when they went to the IoT Collaborative. You guys have heard from them, probably sitting in the audience right now. It's the Internet of Things Collaborative between Case Western Reserve University and Cleveland State University. And in this case, researchers at Case Western University created a roadmap as well as new products for Rafter. The president of Rafter says, we don't have expertise in vibration analysis, data analysis, and algorithms, but we can accelerate our innovation using useful, actionable insights for our customers because of this collaboration. More of these sorts of partnerships through groups like the IoT Collaborative will accelerate this third plank of manufacturing strategy around innovation. I haven't even mentioned what we can think of in terms of startups and how we can help the innovation of small and medium manufacturers through entrepreneurship. But this gives you a flavor for those first three planks. But all of this, everything I've mentioned here today, takes leadership. Leadership of the individual companies like Sensical, like Rafter, like Buckeye Mass Company, to step up and invest and take on risk inside their companies. And leadership is the fourth plank of our strategy. And it's not just trying to help those leaders find reasons to do those hard things that will pay dividends in the future. It's also sometimes about finding ways to invest in companies and potentially have new leaders take over that will want to take on that risk for their future. That opens the door toward new funding, PE vehicles that keep jobs here. But the other half of leadership is back to where I started. All of us coming together to work on things that make great stuff happen for our region. Powerful partnerships. I've told a lot of stories today, and they all share that same theme. Collaboration drives real change. Powerful partnerships accelerate the innovation, talent, and leadership required to build a brighter future. And if we want to build that brighter future, we can only do it together. 2020 has truly been a terrible year. But I feel more positive about it than ever and about our industry's future than ever. Why? Because of all the stories I shared today. Because of the partnerships of organizations that you see here on stage today, that you've networked with, partnership with Team Neo bringing us all together today, because of what we did during the crisis, because of what we do every single day. We triumph with innovation, we overcome barriers with technology, we collaborate in powerful partnerships to push limits and leapfrog barriers. I started with gratitude, so let me end with hope. In dark times, our industry, manufacturing, showed that we have exactly what we need to rebuild stronger than ever. The PPE crisis was a test run for a future fueled by agility, speed, innovation, and technology, and we succeeded. Yeah, there's still a long road to get from recovery to opportunity, but we know how to do this. And we have the powerful partnerships and radical collaboration required to make it happen and make this strategy for manufacturing a reality. Thank you all for listening. Happy to answer any questions. Obviously, I did not go deep into those strategies, but there are deep strategies behind all of them. But I'm very happy to entertain any questions if they've appeared here.
All right, it doesn't look like any questions have come up, but I'll share my email address. Oh, here's a question before I go on. Is ISO 9000 a requirement to supply the defense industry for its required products?
I think it's heavily dependent on which customer you're serving and where you are in the supply chain. I would say it's often a requirement, but not exclusively. Happy to talk to you about what specific things you're looking at that might require ISO 9000 and give you a firm answer based upon those customers and those products.
Great. Thanks, Ethan. I think we have time for one more question if one more rolls in. And if not, I'll share my email address at the end. I'll get this one.
Was price sensitivity an issue with PPE? And I'll answer the next one as well. Was price sensitivity? No, but it is now. When the crisis was at its max, everybody was willing to pay enormous amounts of money. This is why you saw in the news all of the fraudulent things that were happening. Middle sellers were making tons of money on government contracts. It was very much the Wild West, which is why when a real manufacturer stepped up and said, I can make it locally, here's the product I have in hand, the state and others were very amenable to buying it because it wasn't a gift and a prayer that they're hoping something will come in from overseas. Months after those automated cotton masks, we knew we had to automate them because at this point, the market's flooded with Chinese imports in most cases. Nitrile gloves still a problem, but there's that flooding of the region with those prices has meant that everybody's gone back to their normal buying behavior, and we're really hoping that some pioneering hospitals and companies step up to say, well, we'll pay a premium to get local production to produce at a cost using the right level of automation that will provide for long-term stability and price sensitivity. So it's a great question. And how can a manufacturer with a job openings plug into Ohio to work? There is a website that is very easy to access. I just want to get you the exact one. It is ohiotowork.com. No hyphens or anything like that. That will direct you exactly where you need to go. Like I said, that is only in Cuyahoga County right now. However, it is only in Cuyahoga County, but the goal is, if this works, to spread it to other communities.